to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everyone. Morning.
All right.
Out of this whole group, you got one good morning.
I noticed that.
That's sad.
All right, you ready, Cassidy?
Go for it.
All right, I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners motions to suspend approval of the August 31st, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
All right, manufacturing works.
Come on up.
Do you want us, since we're gonna be, how would you like us to do this? Molly's gonna kick us off right there.
However you'd like to do it.
Yeah.
Is that okay if we do it like
Yep,
that?
we're good. We're good.
And then if
Where's
we,
this rolling?
because there's a few of us in the crowd here that are gonna
Okay.
add insight.
However you wanna do it, you're
or
good.
humor, or whatever it
Yep.
might be, so if we can, we'll start with Molly, how's that?
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, Molly.
There's Molly.
Well, hello,
Where's
Molly.
Molly? We don't see Molly.
You don't
There's
see
Molly.
There's
Oh,
Molly.
hi, Molly. Look at Molly.
Can you hear us, Molly?
She's like deer in the headlights.
No voice.
Can't hear you, Mom. Just 1 second while we get your audio going.
Where the babies at, Molly?
Okay, so we got audio. Is your microphone muted, or? Test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we are good as far as our speaker and microphone is concerned.
Does anybody have Molly's phone number?
Yes, we do. We can't hear you.
Okay, no sign language?
Is she on mute, maybe?
I can call her.
I got her.
She's looking.
Hey, you're muted for some reason. Let's try it. Yeah, try it real quick.
She hung up on us.
Yeah, gonna come back in and see if that reboot.
Yeah, and if worst case scenario, I'll just call her and put her on speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, because a lot of times
Yeah.
you can go out and come back in, and for some reason, the speaker will work.
You know,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, there you go. Morning.
You're in.
Good morning. All right. I can see the commissioner team in the Portage County. So I'm assuming other folks are in the room.
You want to be seen, you can send these chairs.
Yeah, everybody else is here.
Yeah, we're good, Molly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I can kick it off and then hand it over to Ken. But I'll share my screen and then and just kind of put a little context in. So this was a report done by the state of Ohio about advanced air mobility economic impact. So I think we're all here for economic drivers. And so I wanted to set the stage that as a state, they viewed, when they did the analysis, $13 billion for a market by 2045, and then job creation 15,000, and these were their projections 2 years ago for 2045. And we just want to make sure that that 13 billion and those jobs that Northeast Ohio and Northern Ohio gets, our share of those as the market progresses. So then there we go. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, great. I'll step up here if I may.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Ken Pacey, President, Executive Director of Manufacturing Works, and thank you so much for letting us be here today to talk to you. The role that we've played, so we've been around since the late 1980s You know, we were an organization that was put together by 3 community development corporations on the west side of Cleveland, that basically felt like community development corporations were pretty good at dealing with businesses that did business in the community, doctor's offices, retail, et cetera. They weren't very good at what you call traded businesses, right? That would do business outside of the community, et cetera. And so they put it together, our organization, to really help those businesses, which were mainly manufacturers, right, and distributors and, you know, things around manufacturing. That grew over the years. The city of Cleveland liked what they were doing on the west side, so when Mike White got in there in the 90s, they asked him to put together a program for the entire city of Cleveland. So we then took over the entire city of Cleveland in the mid-2000s, and it was a membership-based approach, so we had manufacturers as members. And over the years, manufacturers moved over the 30, 40 years, and we moved with them. So we're now in 6 different counties. We deal with over 1,200 manufacturers that we advise. And the role we've really played is what we call trusted advisor. So we go in and try to find out their needs and look for opportunities to grow manufacturing in the region. And if somebody else is doing it, we bring that somebody else in to help them out. If there isn't somebody else that's doing something and we see an opportunity, we try to step in and sort of organize. We play that role of organizer, try to get everybody under the umbrella that could contribute, and see if we can't get an initiative off the ground. That's really what happened here with Advanced Air Mobility. We entered the picture with the Ohio Aerospace Institute. We got went in together on an EDA grant a couple of years ago. And it was an opportunity that was presented to us by a consultant that had worked with OAI and worked with us, and said, you know, there's a lot going on in this down in southern Ohio, and Advanced Air Mobility is getting to the point now where it's real, and people are starting to manufacture these things rather than just fly prototypes, and that means manufacturers are going to need to start getting involved, and we think you ought to pay attention. So we did, and as we always do, we try to collaborate with everyone that can contribute and that we can contribute to their efforts. So we immediately intersected our work with Jobs Ohio and everything that they were doing with Dayton Development Corp. and with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base down in Springfield, Ohio. And it was exciting because they had really gotten the state off to a great start. Early on, a lot of the effort was around the Air Force, and the biggest reason is because part of this is safety, right, with something new in the air, and the FAA therefore has to be involved if you want to do anything, unless you're the Air Force. And then you have airspace where you can kind of do whatever you want in that airspace. And so the early testing could only be done in a few areas in the country. If people wanted to, basically it was what you call fly out of line of sight, right? The FAA did not allow you to fly these things out of line of sight unless you were in space like the Air Force, and they have Air Force has, I think, 200 some odd square miles down there in Springfield where you can fly around. So the people, the companies that were testing these vehicles liked going down to Springfield to test them because they could. And that got us, as a state, an early lead in terms of what was going on with advanced air mobility. The other factor is companies that are in the aerospace industry know that Ohio is one of the top 3 suppliers to the aerospace industry. We're actually the top supplier to both Boeing and Airbus. So what we saw was, as I said, this industry starting to mature to the point where, you know, they were going to start making these things, and we need manufacturers to be involved. It could be a real opportunity for the whole region. And so how do we, you know, and we just then therefore just started to gather all the different organizations that could play a role. One of the very early partners was Kent State, you know, with their program down there, because they have the aeronautics and engineering program that Marla's associated with, and Christina Blobom runs as dean. We connected with them very early on because that allows them to do not just the flight side of it, but also the manufacturing side of it through their engineering work. And then we just, you know, airports, the states certainly recognize, and we recognize that, you know, at least one airport in every county of the 88 counties in Ohio, that this was going to be, they were going to be important players in advanced air mobility as it developed. And it was also going to be a great opportunity from an economic development standpoint. So, you know, that's really what we care about. Why do we do what we do? We're really an economic development organization. And so we saw these underutilized resources in many instances, these regional airports, that this could be a terrific new opportunity for them. One of the things that we were able to do early on, a lot through Howard and Molly's work, was connect with major manufacturers, major supply chain, major OEM manufacturers, and what they told us was, hey, this is a long-term play. We're here, right? If the curve, but it's going to be this curve, right? It's coming, and we know that we're talking about Raytheon. You know, we're talking about those kinds of companies, Saab Aerospace. These are, you know, major Fortune 500 companies. And they said, well, and we got to make a decision pretty soon about where we're going to put our main operations around advanced air mobility. And Ohio's in the mix. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 states that, you know, we're highly considering. We're going to pick 1 or 2. And so the good news was we knew we were in the race, but we also knew that if we didn't get going, we weren't going to win that race. And so what they wanted to see, what they told us is, what we want to see you and the state do is really work to advance the state of the industry, because that's where we're at. You know, we need to make progress to make this more real. And the biggest part of that right now is basically safety and how do we paint the highways in the sky, right? Detection and avoidance systems is sort of the talk of the trade, right? And so what we've been talking to you about and what we've been working on is creating a test bed, effectively, including this region and the airports in this region, to test different use cases, right? Because that's the big thing too, who's going to use this and why is it going to matter? But also to record the data, and we're working with NeoFix, and it's work that Stewart's doing up at Baldwin Wallace College, funded by the Cuyahoga County, and because that's a great data collection, because that's what the FAA wants. The FAA is not a proactive organization. They like to see what the industry wants them to do, and then they digest it and come out with rules that they are pretty certain are going to be accepted because the industry's informed them on that decision. So what we're trying to do with these projects is contribute to that, right? Be a major contributor, do some things that are unique in our project to provide the FAA with information real time about real projects that set a foundation to continue. They're not projects that we're going to do for 2 weeks or 2 months, then, you know, everyone folds their tent and goes away. We're going to use those projects as to establish the foundation to have attract those companies to come here, so that we can be an important part of this emerging industry that promises to be a very major industry, as some of Molly's facts showed, you know, down the road. Any questions or anything I can
How many airports have you looked at in the region? What's the response of the airports that we're talking? Because you hit on all the subject matters that I've been told that are issues. And when we're talking almost an experiment.
Yeah, it's what I would say is it's a proof of concept stuff that more than an experiment. I think it's where it's going. It's just how do we get from here to there. And so the thing that's encouraging to me is the communities are going to have to buy in. You know, this is airspace that they control effectively or have a very big input on. So it's going to have to be bringing them into the party as well. The encouraging thing to me is the early adopters are really local police and fire and rescue are big adopters. It's building. We had an event on Kent State where we had 40 different organizations come out and fly their drones and talk and test and et cetera, and it was predominantly communities that are using this for that. The other major organizations that are interested are hospitals. You know, it's a way, everyone knows what the hospital systems have done, right? They've all gotten these big now spread out hospital systems, and they don't want to have to duplicate everything that they do in every one of those locations, but they want to provide services in every one of those locations. Well, how do you do that? You know, you have to sort of get things from here to there when you need them. And so whether it's supplies, doctors, you know, heart organ transplants, all that sort of stuff is what they're looking at. So they're very anxious to see this develop, and they're part of these early use cases, as they're called, early on. So we believe that, given the fact that, you know, so this isn't, you know, the first thought that most people have, I have frankly, when we approach this is, oh, it's so, you know, rich people can get in like to go for the airport down in New York City, or air taxis and all that sort of stuff and that really is, for some cities that may be the case. That's not gonna be the case for this region. It's really gonna be these uses that really are benefit to the community and to the people. And so we believe that's gonna help a lot,
Thank you.
yeah.
So how big of a plane are you talking?
Yeah, interesting. We're actually, our first experiment is with sort of 3 different vehicles and 3 different zones in the space, right? Doing 3 different things. So we have an organization called Sprite that is a national organization that has a variance to do what do I want to say?
Utility line inspections.
Inspection, thank you, inspection of utility
Mhm.
lines. And so we're working with First Energy. We got them, they're gonna come in October, and they're gonna fly over the utility lines. We're gonna have what I'll call a medium-sized drone for Akron Children's Hospital to utilize to deliver.
What does the word
goods.
medium mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
55 and under.
Yeah,
55
pounds.
feet? 55
pounds?
pounds?
55
Yeah,
pounds.
55 pounds and under, so these are pretty
Okay.
small vehicles.
Okay.
And then the vehicles are less important for the test as detecting things in the space. So Kent State, we're gonna use the students flying, their small planes, because when they fly, they touch down at the airports, at Portage and Akron Business Airport. They use those for touchdowns of flights, so we're gonna use those. But, Kent State with Mara we'll talk to, they're already pursuing getting approval to use drones to transport students out to the airport and all that sort of thing. That's not this test, but that's.
So you're gonna put a couple kids in the drone and fly them out to?
Not yet.
I got a couple kids that.
That's gonna take some
We
time.
can fly.
That's gonna take some time. That's where we're headed.
Okay, all right.
That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed.
Okay.
But so for this first trial, no, it's gonna be there. That won't be drones. That'll be air jets.
So let me add something to clarify about the drones. So when we start talking about people, not just cargo, then we move to what we call more air taxis. And for that, we also have to look at vertiports. How we're gonna, land and launch from the same place, but will be in coexistence with the fleet that we have at the airports. That also open, the area for both things in terms of, the technologies, all the infrastructure that you have to be able to have those things in coexistence in the airspace. Because then, again, safety and security becomes critical aspects of all of that.
How far away, in your mind, is that?
I would say that we're probably not gonna see the people part in a way of more than just, test case, like in 5-6 years. Again, in this area, when we go like in, California, New York, they are already starting to look into how they're gonna use air taxis. So it's gonna take a while, but I think, moving from where we are to get all the data, all the information, I think that's, one of the critical aspects. If we wait until everybody has all the answers, we're gonna be behind, and we don't wanna be there.
Brett?
Yeah, a question with regards to, some of this stuff I would assume have military applications and things like that. And seeing that we have a large National Guard base here in the community, is there a way to integrate that as well too?
Yeah, absolutely. National Guard and Coast Guard are both organizations that are part of our group that they're at the table with us, and absolutely. And you can tell just the feedback we're getting from the war, right, over in Ukraine, how important they've become to the on-field battle.
I would assume, like for air taxis, the first thing that would ever be done is maybe moving a specialist from point A to point B as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Not you and me,
Yeah, and
someone with a uniform.
And having been involved with electric vehicles and watching that, right, from the manufacturing perspective, it's hard to predict, but when it catches, right? And there's this, when everybody sort of buys in, then it becomes, when the business use cases are established and the technology's there, then it becomes the private markets doing their thing. And I don't know about you, but with electric vehicles, we were kind of like, maybe that'll be 5 years away, and then all of a sudden, boom, Tesla came out with something that worked, started to take market share, and all of a sudden Jim and Ford are saying in 5 years our entire fleet's gonna be some, form of electrical, sort of like that. I think we're gonna see something similar. My guess is we'll see something similar like that here, once it gets established, so it's hard to say the when, but I think when it happens, I think it's likely to move very, very quickly when it happens. Oh, yes, so.
Go back to Molly.
Yeah,
just let
Molly,
Molly
let you go
wrap
back,
hers up,
because
yeah.
we can start talking about those who are involved. Molly, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I think we have a few slides that maybe will add some visuals to what Ken spoke to. So the first one was the idea of convening the players. So we worked with companies that are local. So Northeast Ohio has 4 or 5 drone manufacturers. So those folks, but also national players like Collins Aerospace, who are in the air traffic management space. So we've really brought all folks together, and this is by region. So we've had manufacturers, we've had industry advocates and resource organizations like an Ohio Aerospace Institute, all the institutions for universities, as well as integrators, folks like Crown Castle who have the cell phone towers and infrastructure. So we've really tried to cover all the bases. And as we spoke to those people, putting together a strategy. And I'm not going to go through this, but just so you guys understand that that we are really holistically looking at what we need for a region, what we need from an infrastructure, what we need from a talent and supply chain, and looking at how we address all aspects of this emerging market, because it's an ecosystem. So Ohio as a state has really targeted the aircrafts and the manufacturers of the aircrafts, but there's also the charging station, there's community engagement. A lot of what we've been working on and the project that we'll go to is the communications and all the towers and the sensors and how they communicate. So that's where our project is focused, but it really is an ecosystem, and we're starting to expand the conversation because that's where, just as we've progressed, where we are kind of ready to expand and talk to people about all aspects and what Northeast Ohio needs to address those. So for our project goals, Ken spoke to safety, air traffic management, and then Stuart will speak a little bit later, but Cuyahoga County actually took an initial step and funded NeoFix. So it is a flight information exchange system, and it is the first step to kind of making it real, making an investment, putting the data together so that we can go into the next step, which is this proposed area of operations. So if you look at the map, this triangle, so Kent State University is kind of at the center, the Portage County Airport is in that upper corner, and then Akron-Fulton. So when we worked with some of the consultants, they said that this area just has a lot to offer in terms of an air traffic management operations study and collecting the data that will help propel the industry. And so the proposed scope of the project is to install equipment, radars, viewing terminals in this area, and then leverage current activities. So the students at Kent State, the frequency of their flight was very interesting and attractive to people who are looking at radars. So they jumped on that and said, this is awesome. How do we get to this area and use the Kent State student flights to test our equipment? And then also new drone use cases. So the inspections, we've spoken to hospitals as well as the safety and the small packages. So using those use cases in this area of operations. And I think the cool part about this slide is this data is a density map of the air traffic, but it was provided by Collins Aerospace. So Collins Aerospace, as a international leader, is already collecting data on our region because there's so many attractive things and they're invested in this project. So I think that's just a really cool commitment they made to start working together. And so the infrastructure for the project is So this is a map of the current towers, radar towers from Crown Castle. So leveraging current towers, current airspaces and airports, and then putting new radars and sensors. And then this is a picture of NeoFix. So the platform that Stewart's put together is currently logging drone flights in Cuyahoga County, but will be able to start logging the drone flights in Portage County and Summit to be viewed at an operations center that we will install as part of this project. So I can, I'm trying to think of what, so we spoke to some of the drivers, and then I think I think this is the last slide, just from the asset of the airport. I think that's where we all started this conversation, is many advanced air mobility companies and otherwise are looking to be by airports. So this first picture with the plane is Beta. They're a leader in the space, and their manufacturing facility is right next to the Burlington Airport in Vermont. And there's a very large AAM space around Syracuse, and they have invested millions. This is an article about the Mohawk Valley, but all centered around the airport. And Team Neo confirmed over 50% of companies that are looking to move to Northeast Ohio ask about vicinity to airports. So we want to work closely with the county, with the airports, because it really is symbiotic with the work we're trying to do and benefit to the region. So I'll stop sharing, but that's some context to some of what Ken spoke to.
Thank you, Molly.
Let's Stuart and then Marla, if you may.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'll try to speak fast. I don't have COVID. I have post-nasal drip.
Okay. And I'll slap your head and bless you.
All right.
It's okay. Good.
Okay, so you can imagine, I think, how complicated this is. So I'm at Baldwin Wallace University, and they've been gracious enough to create a space so that we could organize this for the region. And we've started out in Cuyahoga County because that's where the money came from. And I want to emphasize that because it's $450,000 over 2 years. So in one respect, it's a lot of money. In another, it's a thimbleful of money because most of these initiatives are statewide. In other states, it's state government that's doing this, and we're doing it as a county because we have a NASA Glenn Research Center and an airport all next to each other, and we're trying to develop a technology transfer. And the motive to do it is really based on, well, if we're successful with this technology, maybe others will be possible, and firms will locate in northeastern Ohio. And we are looking at the region of which Portage County is part. So the concept is, if we create an attractive environment for drone operations, businesses will take notice and they will locate here and operate here. And we're seeing that. So that list that Howard had put together, you saw that slide that Molly showed you, those are people at the table, businesses that are at the table, and there are others. We have a very long stakeholder list. And the challenge for us is to make it work and make it reliable and have cooperation. All of those things are not money things, they're organizing things. And so that's what I'm doing, that's my gig. So we have a website. So the NeoFix is basically, it's a big database. And I'm assuming you've all flown in airplanes. And maybe if you're aboard, you're watching the flight track, because they have usually they have an option where you can watch your flight's progress, and there's a little plane in there, and you go from one part of the United States. Well, it's kind of like that, except it's very large scale. And the idea is, at its simplest, it's a map that tracks drone activity. So in real time. So a person who wants to fly a drone would go to this website, log in, register, log in, pay a small fee. If you're a kid, you probably don't pay any fee. If you're a business, you pay a larger fee. And you get permission to fly. And along with that map are advisories of dangerous places where you can't fly, and places where you shouldn't fly, or that you can if you have permission. And the reason this is important is because right now the system's like the Wild West. There are no rules. Well, the FAA sets the rules, and they are looking to municipalities and local government to advise them on what the ordinances would be for flight operations. So part of our project is to help organize that. So our first year, year one, was to set up the database so that it works and people can visit it. The second will be to organize the communities and start developing the policies. And our goal is to port this to all the counties in the state of Ohio, because each county, as you know, has its own airport. And it's related to airports but separate from it because it has to do with residential as well as commercial. And the last part that I really want to emphasize is there are advanced air mobility initiatives going on in the western part of the state. They're heavily oriented towards defense and military applications. We've deliberately made a point of saying on this side of the state we're focused on commercial. So we really want to focus on business, and that separation is important enough because we're not sophisticated political players, and we don't want to get involved in the divides in the state. So being able to say that it's commercial with the idea that we'll do business development is really what's gotten us the traction. And I think the part that I'd like to maybe get you excited about is right now the drones are small, and they can only lift 10 pounds, 50 pounds, but they're developing drones that can lift much more. Some of it's related to NASA mission to Mars, some of it's commercial development, but our vision is that a drone can lift a cargo container from East Coast and fly it to northeastern Ohio. And if you think about what that means in terms of transportation and not having to drive things, have railroad tracks, involved, and infrastructure, and it's kind of a game changer for the region. And that may be far in the future, but we're headed that way. And I think the earlier comment is how long. Marla said how long. This stuff's inevitable. It's happening. And in some ways, we're ahead of the game, and in other ways, we're not.
Does this exist anywhere else in the world?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it does. It does.
To what extent does it exist?
Yeah.
So Europe has been, they have been pushing a lot in terms of green technologies, and their regulations are a little bit different. So some of the companies that they're working with are kind of, their bases are more in Europe. So Europe is moving on that. And right now at the Paris Air Show, just back in the summer, they announced that they're going to try to have a pilot during the Olympics, that they're going to be transporting the athlete from point A to point B using air taxi. So that would be a game changer if they really put that together. But they announced at the air show that that's their goal. That,
areas of Southeast Asia also, in Singapore,
Singapore.
is
Yeah.
very, very developed. They're probably the most developed of all. So yeah, we're the U.S. isn't really at the forefront. We're a step behind it, frankly.
So you'd mentioned investment from each 88 counties as they do that, and then the things that I've heard is the safety of that, and that's you said that right at the beginning of how do we have these little airplanes flying around and triangle of death or something like that I've heard. How does that involve us? So start with about how much money that we'd go, and then as we're implementing that, you got small airplanes, bunch of little airplanes, Kent State students flying all over the place, and with nobody really in control.
So that's part of the goal of this project. Mm-hmm. We expect to organize that, or at least create the structure so that it can be organized, and it'll be a living thing because ordinances will need to change, conditions will need to change. Certainly, as the aircraft get to be bigger and more powerful, and the conditions for their operation will change, so will the policies. So, we spent the first part of our project developing the thing. Mm-hmm. Now it's how do you use the thing?
And that's the NeoFix?
Yes.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
idea is NeoFix is the model that we expect to port throughout the rest of the state.
So my question is, how many other counties do you have the buy-in for that have the airports that you would need to, collaborate and work together in order to make this happen?
That's part of the project. So, I think Howard and I have been down to Canton. We've been, we certainly have, kind of an audience with the 3 airports in Cuyahoga County. We're talking to you. I mean, the way that we're looking at this is it's really a bottom-up. And, our primary agenda right now is to draw the attention of the state to this, and to get them to fund next stage, so we can develop these policies. And we're focused on economic development, because
Yeah.
that seems to be where the interest
Interest is.
and, but Ken was absolutely right. The early adopters for this are the cops and the emergency preparedness folks, and,
Mhm.
you know,
And
they
the
get it.
military.
They get it, they get it.
And we can provide you with a list of the airports that are involved. We probably have a dozen plus airports that are actually part of our group.
Yeah.
Akron, Canton, Hopkins, et cetera, but some of the bigger ones as well. Frankly, you're on the part of the front stage of it because of our involvement with Kent State, and that they're so
Uh-huh.
active with it, and that this project is gonna be, proposed to be in your region here.
And what was that number for the buy-in for us?
Well, I don't have one yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I would ask you what your interest is, and then maybe we can
Vague
talk
right
about
now.
it. Well, right, so that's normal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
normal. So a lot of folks that we talk to, still think of these things as not real.
Yeah.
But they're here, and one of the reasons to want to have the NeoFix map up is so that you can see there's a considerable amount of activity already.
I've got a good friend, his son was a Navy pilot, and he flies drones on the west coast from South Dakota down that way.
Yeah.
And the flight patterns they had to call in, because they could only chase me to the border of this state, I couldn't go over when they first started, so
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
yeah.
I would be interested in just see what other airports
Uh-huh.
that you're talking to,
Yep.
just, you know, just to see, and if we know someone and we can, you know, collaborate amongst ourselves
Yeah, sure.
for the information.
Yeah, absolutely, no.
So if you could get that
We
to
will
us, that would be
definitely
great.
Who's the next on your agenda?
Marla?
Martha.
Here, hot seat.
Woohoo! Hopefully not. Thank you so much for the time. So I'm gonna keep it very brief. I think, Kim talk about the aerospace industry in the area and how we're suppliers for Boeing and Airbus. The other part of the equation is the workforce talent. We talk about all these, devices, what is the future gonna be, but we need the workforce. And one of the things that, industry is looking at, Ohio also has been and continue to provide very skilled, talented individuals for their companies. So we at Kent State, with the College of Aeronautics and Engineering, one of their vision is, okay, how the future look. Let's don't concentrate only on the present, because we do have our priority to student first. So how we're gonna prepare the students for the future? So it is our best interest, and it's not just Kent State, but all higher ed and 4 and 2-year colleges, to work with industry to giving real life experience to the individuals that are gonna be really working these technologies. So that's, one of the pieces of the puzzle, how we prepare the workforce, what kind of skills, knowledge, and it's not just about the 4-year colleges, it's also about the trades. What kind of skills are needed for the technicians, the individuals that are really gonna put together these devices, in all areas, the whole supply chain. So that's one of the pieces. So, back in June, the Board of Trustees at Kent State approved the Center for Advanced Air Mobility. So when we talk about the Center for Advanced Air Mobility, is a place where we're gonna foster collaborations and partnership between industry, local, federal government, and industry. We all together to prepare the next generation, but also to research some of these areas that we really need to have answers. There's a lot of unknowns. There's unknowns that we're working on, but there are unknowns that we don't even know now. So those are the things that we're gonna be doing at the college. So it's not just about a name. We also working with industry, with the local community to create a physical space for the Center for Advanced Air Mobility. And the idea is to provide kind of a test bed for companies, for governments to test what they're working on, the technologies, and having faculty and students to be part of it. It's a lot of talent, a lot of knowledge, innovation, and creativity that we are gonna need to solve these things. The other thing that I want to spend at least a minute to is making sure that we don't give the impression that students are gonna be flying these drones without any control or advice, because really to fly anything these days, you have to go through a very complicated process and get all the waivers and permissions to do that. The directors of the airport are heavily involved in terms of giving the approval to do things. So again, there's the limitations about beyond line of sight. You have to have eyes on the prize all the time. That limits the applications to many of the individuals that are interested in using this for their business. So that's one of the things with the data that we're talking about, how we collect data to influence and provide that information to the organizations, in this case FAA, that is required to change policy and regulations. And we do have, I can say also, a person that is, very knowledgeable about the laws required, work with FAA. He also is a pilot. So I think, as an organization, we're very equipped to tackle the future. And we're very excited to be part of the region, be part of preparing the students and, the talent that we need for the whole nation. It's not just for Ohio. We want to keep them in Ohio. So that's why we want industry to come and stay in Ohio. But the reality is that it's a need that it has been expressed by many. So thank you so much. Any questions?
Yes. So this is a giant experiment in our backyard. This is pretty much
It's a test.
test experiment, test pilots, test drones. Does that include the radar at Portage County that say, hey, we're going to be part of that, and part of the deal is we'd like to install a radar system within close to your airport, so we can follow that?
So that's another thing. The communication system, their strategy is not just about the device. The strategy is about what is the infrastructure that we need. And one of the things that we also have to look at is what are the things that we have now? What are the things that we can use to do just what you said? If we have already a radar, how we can use that technology to generate the data that is needed, learn something, and then move to the next step. So yes, anything in the communication area is going to be critical. The other piece about the radars is, for some of the applications, we start looking into remote towers. What does that mean? Because if you talk about rural areas and you want to take the advantages of this technology, then they may not have all the pieces and part of the infrastructure. So industry is very interested because that's another, small business can create their own, business portfolio based on that. But there's also the need for how you operate and, towers, how all these things can coexist within what we have right now. So that's gonna be the other part.
This may be going far off question. We're in the process of putting up, four Marks towers, three Marks towers. Would have to be on site, or the Marks towers that we have for our county for the communications, would that be feasible to put radar or something on top of those types of towers?
So it depends on what exactly we're trying to do. I think there's some limitations about interference and things that you can and cannot do.
That's a lot of things what people are talking about.
Yeah, but that's
interference.
some of the things that needs to be looked at. And then the other thing is in terms of what exactly is what it makes sense right now. I think, we all agree that we get very excited when we have disruptive and new technologies. But at the end of the day, we have to be realistic about what really are the priorities, and that's one of the things that also manufacturing work in terms of, this is where we are. Let's not try to do all these things, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So I think that's another critical aspect of what we're trying to do. Organize everything from the standpoint of what makes sense.
Thanks.
So, Commissioner, could I, rather than think about it in terms of an experiment, what it is development, and what we're trying to do is create a new thing where there isn't anything, filling a void. And I think that part of that is learning as you're going.
Mhm.
So from that standpoint, maybe I can understand why you say experiment. On the other hand, it's gonna happen anyway. If we don't do it here, it's gonna happen elsewhere, so.
Thank you.
Is there an opportunity for us to be involved in any type of, I'll use the term service center or manufacturing center up on our airport property?
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I think there's a very large opportunity for that, and I think that is also part of the reason why we want to bring operators here to do some of this work, because some of these operators that are doing this work on the West Coast don't know what's happening in Ohio, and they don't know that there is a hub opportunity here in Portage, for instance.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at the airports that have had, I think the most interest, as we've talked about this so far, those are the ones that we want to involve in these development projects, if you will, because we want to showcase what's available for them. I mean, there's space here for you. There's companies that are, easily accessible to help you with components and parts and building, manufacturing aspects of it, or, the R&D side of it. And that's the whole, when went back to what Stuart said, that's that whole economic development aspect of it, that if you start to generate the interest and you show people that there's some love here for you, I think people start looking at, how do we become a part of that? How do we put our facility there?
Well, I'm all
Yeah,
about
practically
building
speaking-
county.
I'm sorry. Yeah, practically speaking, when you think about the aircraft and what they're doing, now planes fly over a bunch of airports to get from one big airport to another big airport. These are local, to be used locally, and that's what really creates that opportunity for smaller airports to add services, for all the reasons any aircraft that's doing what they're doing needs services to do
Sure.
what they do.
Our new airport director's here. Rob, do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. One quick question, the flight test regiment that you're talking about, what altitudes are we envisioning?
400 feet and below.
400 feet and below?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then with the other things that are there, I gotta think about liability. That's gonna be the question. Once we get all this stuff done and we're sold on the economics of it, the lawyers are gonna come in and say, here's where the liability is. So what do we do about liability?
So the FAA rules everything from the ground up, and it's their protocols that kind of dictate that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's a great point. That's another thing in terms of research, because we still have to look into the business model, the insurance model of all these things. Right now, every time we fly, we have to have insurance for these things,
Right.
and it's pretty expensive.
Well,
So, right?
Because the FAA regulates,
yeah.
and then the
It's pretty
insurance
expensive.
companies dictate what you can do.
Yes,
Exactly.
so that's the other piece. The other thing, I think, back to your point in terms of the airports, how you start thinking about the strategy, and you're thinking about this in terms of the future, how the airports look, because the maintenance and the kind of things, the hangars, the kind of things that you have to do to be able to support that kind of industry. So that's another piece that is not just about the workforce, but it's also about, how we strategize when we make plans for remodelation or expanding an airport, what needs to be in the equation to make sure that we plan for what is coming down the road. So again, it's just a matter of time, but we see more and more interest in terms of how we can incorporate these into the airspace. And it will happen, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? Because we're a little bit over, but if you need
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 more minutes.
He wants 2 minutes, he wants to take a picture with you guys.
That takes about 15 seconds.
Right.
We
That's
can
all.
do that.
Is there
I'm just
anything
gonna
else?
spin in front of you. You guys stand up, and that's it. We're out.
Is there
I
anything
guess
else?
the other thing, the other point I'd like to make too, is from a community standpoint is, the experiment's already started, right? A big part of this is taking what's already happening by users that maybe don't look for permission to be in there and do it, and start to develop an infrastructure that gets control of what's already happening. To the point, it's gonna happen, it's already happening, right? And so it's part of it is to enable communities to get control over things that are starting to happen and probably will be more frequently happening just because more of these, the technology is advancing. When we were out at the airport, I mean, they have new ones that go super fast, you know. I mean, it's pretty impressive stuff to see. And as that technology advances, you know, people will use them, and we want to make sure they use them correctly and productively, right, as every community does.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. This is
Thanks.
very interesting experiment idea. No, it's thank you.
I think it's a
Thank you very
pilot project.
Yeah.
It's already been done in Europe. It's not an experiment.
much. Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, thank you. We'll follow up to
Yes,
give
please,
more information and
more
everything else.
information.
Thanks so much.
Is that okay? Can we just spin in front of you?
You
Is that
could.
okay?
That's
Thank
perfect.
you very much. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Thanks for
Thank
helping.
you.
You wanna get in this?
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Marla.
Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Oh, come on,
Hey,
Brett.
director, this is history.
Come on.
Yeah, Brad, give me
Right
your
on it.
history.
Come on in.
Got my good side?
Sam, do you need them to shift right?
Okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna take it 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, there you go, another one. Okay, here we go, we should be good.
That's awesome.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks so much.
Do you have a card with you?
No, this is the first time I've been to this new one.
We need our cards. We have all of them.
Only took me 2 months.
Yep.
Did a good job.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting that all.
Thanks, guys.
That was cool.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks
take
again.
care. Good to see you.
Thanks. See you
All right,
later.
bye-bye. Is Human Resources out there? Tammy?
Nope, Tammy's on vacation, Heather's here.
Oh, Heather. Oh, Heather.
Hey,
Front and
Heather.
center, Heather. We've been waiting for you.
I wait for you.
Yeah, I know you did.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
Is there anything you need to tell us before we go through
Go on.
this?
You all look lovely.
All right.
This is the first time I've been in the new room, so.
Oh, good. All right, in accordance with section 305.30 of the Ohio Revised Code and the board's resolution 21-0396, part 9I, the Board of Commissioners acknowledges and approves the county administrator's approval to. I'll make a motion to approve the revised PCSA paralegal job description for Jobs and Family Service Department, including the job title change to Child and Adult Protective Services Paralegal.
Second,
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to authorize a wage increase for Jackie Beauchamp, Child and Adult Protective Services Paralegal due to job description revision effective as of Tuesday, September 5th, 2023.
Second,
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to authorize the 3-day internal posting of the full-time social service 2 worker for Portage County Jobs and Family Services with external posting if no internal appointment is made.
Second,
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the anniversary and probationary step increase for the following non-bargaining employees. Clarissa Philippot, internal service maintenance.
Second,
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
yes.
Tony?
Yes. Nice to see you, Heather.
You too.
Good day.
That's pretty painless.
Bye, Heather.
Have a good day.
Jackie, you're up. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning. So I actually have 2 discussion items. I had one on the agenda and then one came up yesterday, so I have an add-on. The first one is about the portfolio manager fees. The treasurer's office budgets for these fees every
Yeah.
year, and it's Meter Investment Management. We have a contract with them, and the fee is actually a straight percentage of our investment portfolio. So the investment portfolio has grown, and so the
That's
fees
the fee.
have gone up significantly. So they didn't have enough budget this year. They budgeted last year based on what they thought they would be paying, but they're actually paying quite a bit more.
Yeah.
So the request is for $47,500 to be added to their general fund budget for these fees.
Yeah.
It's a contracted amount, so
So you
I
have
don't
to
really see
pay
a way around it.
Yeah.
The upside is we're bringing in a lot of interest, so in the long run,
Well, that more than covers for it, yeah.
Right.
Because we used to have less than 1% interest on our investments, and now we're up to almost 5. So, okay.
So it's 47,500 that they're requesting as a supplement to their general fund budget.
For 2023?
Yes, for the remainder of it's the
year.
last 2 quarters of the year that they're gonna pay for.
Okay. Do you need us to, do you have it on here?
Do you have a resolution?
Or- yeah,
It will
journal.
come, so if you approve it, I can put it in a budget amendment next week.
Okay. I don't think there's any way around it, so
Do
go
you have
for
enough
it.
time for them?
Yeah, they've planned,
Okay.
quite a bit in advance, so.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So go ahead and do that.
You said you had another.
And the second one is about adult probation wages and fringe benefits. We've had this discussion we've been seeing, we've been discussing this with Hank, that potentially his federal grants might not be awarded in the coming year, and those federal grants support about 3 positions. So right now, with the uncertainty, and in the meantime, Hank's requesting for us to assist in funding these salaries and benefits.
What does that cost us per year?
So
Like 200 and something?
he annualized, I think, let me see, when I fully loaded the number with benefits, it was about 280,000 for 3 people. My thought right now is just a temporary and immediate solution would be to use the sales and use tax fund to just transfer those employees to that fund right now so they can make payroll, and then we discuss with Hank maybe in the coming weeks what the plan is and what the timeline is that he foresees as far as when did he apply for the grant, when does he expect to find out if he got it or not, and from there, if we don't get the grant, then what do we do?
Yeah, those were my questions, along with how long have we been relying on a federal grant to pay salaries for that department?
He was, I
He-
think,
he
2 years,
did.
right?
Like, I
But
thought
I
he
don't
said
remember.
2019.
Yeah.
That these employees went to that federal grant, and so essentially, he said, we relieved the general fund by that much
Yeah.
at that
Oh,
time.
that's true.
And you know what? They increased it because of the caseload, and a lot of them are related to like the drug courts and stuff. They have more, and it's all about the diversion programs, keeping people out of jail and being able to monitor better for them to keep them out.
So, yeah, the challenge is just, the sales and use tax fund is, it's static, there's only so much in there. There's the opioid funds, but there's not a lot of that comes in every year. It certainly wouldn't be enough to cover this.
So the sales and use tax, could you kind of give a brief in public what that was built to, where the money could be spent?
So the resolution that was set, and as far as I understand it, the ORC said that whatever you set the resolution as saying is your restriction for what you use it for. So the resolution says that we levied this additional money for, the immediate preservation of public peace, health, and safety within Portage County.
You're doggone vague, huh?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's all that
Well,
was defined in the resolution.
But I can address that because I was a commissioner here and I came in on the tail end after they imposed that. That fund was specific they promised, because we did not have a sales tax that could be just for judicial systems when it came time to build the expansion. So this was like a broad stroke of what these funds could be used for, and they went into the general fund. So the promise to the people, because people were very adamant they didn't want people being jailed, the jail bit, was once the jail was built, they would allocate X amount of dollars towards diversion programs. So that we increased scram bracelets, we hired peer counselors in the schools, we paid for additional staffing to help with probation, to keep these people out of jail and trying to keep them on track and help with the monitoring. Plus their caseloads were huge. So
the what you just said, so
Yeah.
I grasp this, is that state mandated we build a bigger jail. And
no,
then
they did not mandate that.
I thought we had to do it because we were getting too big.
No.
No, that's what I was under impression. The state said, hey.
They could come in. That's how that jail
We superseded
originally
it.
was
They're
built.
saying we're gonna do this if you don't do this. And then, so we built a bigger jail, and then the money that we built the bigger jail with was for a diversion program, not to put people in the jail that we just built.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was because people want them to try to get treatment
Yeah.
and help and stop the recidivism,
Yeah,
because it
I-
cost us more money to do
Yeah,
it that
I
way.
was just,
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it put that way, so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thank you. Thanks for the explanation.
All right.
So the answer is, I think, yes.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and, at least for now, we'll transfer those employees to that fund.
Yeah.
And there
then-
is a grant, he's working on a grant, and
Applying for it.
hopefully they're gonna do that.
He is, and we're hoping to get the award, but those are, I think, additional questions. We could just have a discussion with Hank, maybe in the coming weeks,
Yeah,
to
to
say, okay,
see.
like when did you apply for it? When do you expect the grant to come in? Because I think they set the awards in October, but it's possible that they applied for it.
So
right
this'll
at the
take us to the
deadline,
end of the
so-
year?
It should be awarded, I would think, by October and then take us
No,
through.
I mean, what we're about to do to help that out and pay for, put more
For
money in
now.
general fund will take us through December?
Yes, that should be good for these 3 staff members,
Okay.
that should be good.
Right.
And here's another opportunity we'll have is, I serve on the One Ohio Board, which is the opiate funds that we receive from the pharmaceuticals. There is a provision in there that we have 2.4 million in there for our area, which is 4 counties. We decided yesterday, instead of splitting it up by percentages or whatever, we just put it in the pot as a whole, and then each county can apply for funds or proposals. And one of the uses for that money is to enhance like drug court operations for staffing, or like probation, again, that are diversion programs. So there is a chance that we could apply for that too there. So there's opportunity.
You couldn't grab some extra while you were there? I mean, seriously.
They wrote our.
On the way out the door.
Take what you want.
Seriously.
So that's different than the other opioid money
Correct,
that
yes.
automatically comes to us, we have to apply.
Yeah, that's the local government share, and like, I remembered, we get like 81,000 a year. We pledged 25 of that for the next 5 years to Hopetown, and then with a possible renewal so.
Okay,
There, go ahead.
all right, so that's it for my discussion items.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Board of Commissioners signed the September 7th, 2023 correspondence to Portage County Auditor Matt Kelly, including the list of final certification of delinquent accounts for the sewer and water service billings through August 22nd, 2023, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 6117.02, as presented by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
In accordance with section 305.30K of the Ohio Revised Code and this board's resolution 21-0396 and this board's resolution 21-0878, the Board of Commissioners acknowledges and approves the county's administrator approval too. I'll make a motion to direct the auditor's office to process the August 31st, 2023 bills, ACH payments, wires, journal vouchers, and then announce as applicable contingent upon the verification of the reports as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to process the August 31st, 2023 budget amendments as reviewed and recommended by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Portage County Board of Commissioners certifies to the Portage County Auditor's unpaid charges for the Franklin Township Leaf Recycling Program in Franklin Township on behalf of the Franklin Township trustees.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion transfer from Fund 0001, General Fund, to Fund 1410, Public Assistance Fund.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to rescind resolution number 21-0673, approving a request for installment payments of connection charges for connections to the sanitary sewage system in the Portage County Regional Sewer District and establishing the terms and conditions of the same.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion transfer from Fund 0001, General Fund, to Fund 1481, Prosecutor State Grant.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Portage County Board of Commissioners certifies to the Portage County Auditor unpaid charges for curbside recycling collection services on residential properties in the Portage County Solid Waste Management District.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
Morning, Sue.
Morning. How's everybody?
Good, you?
Morning.
Good. We just have one quick one. It's just the remainder of our child support shared costs for
Yeah,
July.
Make it quick.
All
I
right.
know it's gonna be.
I'll make a motion to transfer
Who
from
wants to talk?
Fund 1414 Child Support Administration to 1410 Public Assistance Fund.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
How's that?
30 seconds or less.
Thank you.
Mine is not
No,
gonna
it
be
is
like
not.
that.
We're gonna take a break.
Bye, Vanessa. Bye, Steve.
Sabrina's gonna have a couple lozenges,
Oh
cup
my
of tea.
gosh.
I
20,
know,
I
I
have
saw
20.
that, I'm like, what?
It was because of them, just so you know. I mean, they left. I think they
Call
had
them
like,
back.
I
they
read
had like
all
12
those.
of them or something.
Lock the elevator.
Anyway, good morning.
Good morning.
I have project updates, but before then, I just wanted to talk about the sign on 14 and 303 and
They shot it
ODOT.
down.
Yeah, they shot us down. So they said they don't, I guess, so one of the engineers said, that's been there for 35 years or that does the road, he said there used to be a sign there at one time. But he doesn't know why it was taken down, and now we didn't know that ODOT wouldn't allow us to do it
I
either. so.
talked to the brewers and we just put it on their property.
Yeah.
That's what I suggested. I said we could find a private property
To
owner
lease it.
that, like, lease a strip of
Yeah.
land or something
Well, they own that on the
for
northeast
liability.
Okay.
section. And thanks for painting the benches.
Yes, Sunny Mark did that.
They look awesome.
They do, they look a lot better. They were looking a little
Yeah,
sad
you
there for a bit.
So, okay, so where are we at with it then?
So, Mike Collins, when we suggested that maybe you just lease it to put a sign on it, he said he'll have to check, he'll still check with ODOT to make sure that that is still possible.
What if we just put it up?
Oh, that truck,
They'll
snow
take-
truck comes up and goes.
Take it down. That's a lot of money.
It'll be like snow day movie.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm trying. We'll see how it
Okay, cool.
goes.
Well, and as long as it's not an ODOT's right of way, they really can't
Say
say anything
anything?
if it's on private property and we get permission.
Yeah, you guys will have to show me exactly where. We'll get a map. And we'll- Okay. Now I have project updates.
Are you
Mark,
warming me up for
get
my
set, go.
morning marathon?
You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much.
So welcome.
Well, sure.
Okay, admin building, the building department, outside of the building department where that planter is, we were talking about, it's leaking somewhere. So on the week of September 25th is when they're gonna start digging in there to find out where that leak's coming from. We don't know if it's I don't know if it's a pipe, I don't know what it is. So
Yeah.
I'll just have to see if there's something clogged or whatever, so I won't know more until then. The plans for the maintenance garage where they're gonna, put up the, siding, the metal siding and such. The plans are currently with the city building department for review, so we're just waiting them until we order the materials to get going there, cause I'd like it done before the snow flies.
Yeah,
So.
it'll look so much
Who's doing
better.
that?
R2K,
R2K.
is that what you're asking?
It's- yeah,
Construction.
Construction?
Yes.
The type of steel they're gonna put up.
It's the same that's on the outside of ours. It's
Cause
like
they have
metal
that new
panel.
steel that they put, they clamp it to the wall.
Okay,
And they're using it down in Aurora, the Industrial Parkway, that just where that
Oh,
tarp
yeah.
place was,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just put it. So it's a new product, relatively new, and they're doing it in museums in
how
different cities.
expensive is it?
I don't know, but
I'm
I
all
can
about money.
give, I can
Probably
give you a
very.
I can give you a contact.
Okay,
But-
cause I think he already quoted it and I've already given him the purchase order.
Oh, okay.
Just so you
Yeah,
know.
it's done.
Yeah, because they put,
But I would like to know about it for future.
yeah, because it looks really, really cool. A lot of businesses are doing it, museums, Cleveland's doing it, and they're all over the place.
Okay.
But they put rails on it, and then you have the design, and looks like however they want to design the steel.
Oh, okay.
And it just clamps up on the wall.
Okay,
There,
yeah,
it
if you
changes
can
the
give me a
outside.
contact for maybe something coming up, we
Yeah.
can look at it.
Yep. I'll take a picture of the business.
Yeah.
The way, it looks really cool.
Okay.
All the cool kids are doing
All the cool kids.
Yeah.
Okay, the
They have
annex,
lots of money.
we don't have good news on the annex building.
Uh-oh.
It came in well over the architect's estimate. The HVAC equipment has doubled almost. It just keeps.
Just because.
We can't keep up. It's almost it's $190,000 over the architect's estimate.
Yeah.
And-
I have a comment for that
Yes.
building, but I'm not gonna say it here.
Well, so my question to you is, you know, do we rebid it? But when we talk about funds, or do we wait till next year to rebid?
So, do you wanna go first?
Right now, as it stands, will it stay heated and?
No. I have no heat over there. Currently is offline through Johnson Controls. The boiler is well over I don't have heat right now. Some way, shape, or form, I have to get heat over there so their pipes don't freeze.
Right.
So.
My recommendation, and my thoughts being, I go in and out of that building twice a week. And I say we just minimally maintain that until we really decide what we're gonna do. This has been
We are getting the
ridiculous.
occupancy right now currently still, regardless of what we do. Cause that's in play. But I can get the HVAC fixed. It's still going to be a considerable amount of money. It's probably over $300,000 for the HVAC and the air.
Just to fix it,
Just
and
to-
then we have to turn around and then. we
Because
decide if
these
it's
units are so old. So I just don't, do I just bid out, do you just want me to bid out for this year just the HVAC?
So
And take away the basement and the ramp?
So when we started this, it was, hey, that's a good place to have a child daycare.
Correct.
For the county. It was gonna be minimal cost, and now we're going to the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 mark to put a daycare in that building.
$7,000.
700?
700,000,
Are
sorry.
they gonna use it though for other than the daycare?
We were gonna do storage in the basement.
Yeah.
Because probate keeps things for over 100 years, and we need the room, so we were going to discuss putting storage for probate's items in there, because they are infinite,
Correct, and they're gonna overtake that in a few years anyway.
the basement.
No, if we're gonna give them storage, within a few years, we're gonna run out of storage space, just like out on Infirmary Road.
Well, I think they're I'm told that they are scanning some items.
Mhm.
This is stuff that's
Can't be
still
Can't be
in,
destroyed.
you know, like 100 years,
There's some that they can
estates
never
that are
get
like
rid of.
300 years old. I don't know,
Correct.
I'm just maybe exaggerating, but.
I'm sorry. go ahead.
No, it's, I mean, we have to keep it heated, so we don't blow up pipes.
And we're gonna get mold if I don't have air conditioning in there soon. So I just
Should we
don't,
put portable air conditioners in meantime?
we can,
I mean,
it's expensive.
just,
We'd have to, you just mean like the little units that we're using right now at Riddle Block?
possibly something like that.
I for sure need heat in there, so I can go to bid just for the boiler if you guys would like me to do that.
But we don't want mold.
Right.
And
I was
is it
trying to do that.
heating, cold, do we need
They're
that?
separate units.
Right, so do we need air conditioning for the summer months for next year? And then
But I have to
just
order them
heat
now for next
the
year.
next year?
So how much, you said that you could possibly move forward with the HVAC stuff and put the ramp in the basement, but I thought the basement is the biggest problem.
Basement leaks too, I know.
Didn't we do seal?
We haven't done anything yet,
No.
that's what this was part of.
And that's the problem with that building, is the basement.
The ramp alone is like $80,000.
What about sealing the foundation?
I don't have a breakdown of that, I can get that.
I mean, what we have to do, this project that was simple has turned incredibly expensive.
Well, we knew we needed air, the biggest chunk of this is the HVAC system. It's the heating and the cooling of the system. That is the biggest chunk of this whole project. It's probably $450,000 of it. Cause you've got all these individual units, cause you can't do both, cause it's not built that way. Then you're talking about taking out ceilings, putting in ductwork to do both. I have to have, the boiler is separate from the air conditioning.
I'm not really happy about putting any more money into that building other than to maintain its integrity, number one. And number two, if you've been over there and you talk about storage in the basement, it appears to me on the first floor that they're using that for storage now. Because
They
there
did
is
move a lot of their stuff over there already.
everywhere.
Oh.
They were having the board let them use that at one time to have meetings over there, but I thought that stopped in July but I know they do have storage over there of their items. JFS does.
Well, they moved out of our Riddle block.
But they're not meeting over there anymore.
Mhm.
They're just storing items over there.
Mhm.
So, that's what I'm, I
Well,
can get
storage
it.
is always a problem, no matter what.
It is, you're right, it is. So, get the HVAC working, up and going. Cause I wanna get everything ordered, cause I don't know how long that boiler's gonna take. I might have to, I don't even know how to do, might have to hire a company just to get temporary heat in there. Cause it might take 6 months cause HVAC stuff is so hard to get right now. That's probably my biggest thing for a lot of these. I'm having a meeting when we move on to Riddle Block building. There's 2 units, they're still on back order for Riddle Block. They got all those smaller ones, but they're still waiting. They don't know
On
what
the
to do.
roof?
I'm having a meeting today at 2 o'clock. They called for a meeting, so that I'll report to you guys next week, but.
So the bid, 691,000, is that just for?
That was.
If that's the entire project.
That's the entire project, and what
Okay.
that entailed was the basement,
Mm-hmm,
okay, the ramp that's gotta go out front,
mm-hmm.
and also the stairwell that had to be sandblasted because it's not technically, you don't wanna, we need to take care of that before it's not safe anymore
Okay.
in the back of the escape. So, that was an alternate we put in there for that. They put that in after the fact, they put it in as an alternate,
Mm-hmm.
cause if we didn't have to do it, so.
The steps.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of putting any more money in that.
Then just HVAC.
That's my opinion.
I will concur.
So we're gonna do the.
HVAC for right now?
Mm-hmm. But my only concern is that goofy basement, cause that's the problem there.
I can
Why
get,
wouldn't that be one of the first, I mean, that since I've been here, it's been leaking way before me. I thought that, I mean, like
Yeah.
Ohio State Waterproofing or somebody like that, come in and seal the basement.
Too, but-
Wouldn't that be the first thing we would do, to get rid
that's,
of mold?
Yeah.
I mean, if I
That
got a
is
leak
true.
and if I'm fixing HVAC, but I've got a leak,
yes, the basement.
doesn't matter how
We were
much
trying
it's
to, what we were trying to do is we were trying to have the architect, we were trying to save money by having them do it all at one time.
yeah.
And this was, like, so let's do it all at one time,
Yeah.
get how
Right.
much it's gonna
Understood.
be.
So now we went from, isn't gonna be bad to this
This
is
is gonna be
get
$500,000 to now it's,
And if it's 600,
I will get another,
700 now.
how about I do this? I put out to bid the HVAC and we do an alternate for the basement, and if that doesn't work,
Yeah. Yeah, because like I said,
I
you
can
can put
go
the
out and try
hat
to find
back in there,
companies
but then the
that-
basement's
yeah,
still a problem.
I think number one to me would be
The basement.
fix the foundation.
Okay.
There, get a company that does that. I can't think that'd be that horrible of an event. It's
it
not a
just
massive.
depends how
building.
much it's over. I just don't, I don't
Yeah.
have any cost estimates for
So
stuff, right?
that and then the HVAC. And if you get the HVAC but you don't fix the foundation, we're kind of beating our head up against the wall. I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
No
do
ramp
that.
right now, no stairs.
No, we gotta
Seal the
fix the
basement and
foundation.
And, I was told by Chris Maduri that on October 3rd, the new bid limit is 75,000.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy about that. That makes
we
it
pushed for
easier.
100, but they
I know,
compromised.
yeah, okay. Okay. Moving on. Juvenile court. The court, I was just there last week. The courtroom's gutted and the framework started and the courtroom, and they're doing such a good job. It's so clean. They're so clean. They're cleaning up after
I
themselves.
was out there, it's unbelievable.
They're doing a great job, and they're very good company to work with. They're really easy, and I believe that the judge is happy as well.
Good.
Gotta make the judge happy.
Got it?
That's right. Ravenna Courthouse parking lot, phase 2.
Looks good.
It looks great, but they have
But-
the same issue,
Sinking.
sinking.
Yeah.
So, and and there was a house there, so now, the structural stability, but it might still be in our contingency so I don't know if there's even gonna be a cost to us
Okay.
outside of what the bid was.
So when you come up to, what's the street right behind the courthouse?
I don't know.
Okay.
Spruce.
I am so
Spruce.
horrible at those, 'cause
So,
there's that
the
park-
way they're building the parking lot, it's going up about 2 feet.
Mhm.
Any idea how that's gonna come down?
No, but I can ask.
No,
them.
I just curious. I could wait and see in a couple more days. Huh?
They have to,
Yeah.
well, it's not gonna have to be gradual, it's not gonna be.
I'm just looking, I drove by again this morning, it's like,
Yeah.
So I'm just curious.
And they
But,
do
you
know about the other areas to fix that as
Yeah,
well.
I'm just curious. I
Okay.
can wait and see.
Okay. So they're gonna give me, by the end of the week, they're supposed to tell me about that.
Mhm.
So I'll wait to hear from the architect and the contractors as well. For if they're, I foresee that it's in our contingency, so we don't have to ask for more money. So, but we just don't know how much they have to do. That's right, but I might not get it, right? The probate court renovations on the next page. The contractor is gonna be working on the second floor on Saturday. They have to like sledgehammer through this wall, and we can't do that during court. It's like all day. So they're gonna start at 6 a.m. with their trades to take out the walls with as much noise as, or any other projects that they do, because everything's gonna be really, really loud
Yeah.
for like 5 or 6 hours. So, and that'll entail some overtime, but the sheriff's department's also gonna be there too, because they secure that building. And then the Riddle Block building, the HVAC, that was what I was telling you about earlier. I have a meeting today to go over the HVAC and the roof. I believe the roof is still somewhat on schedule, but I think those 2 units are giving us problems, so he's supposed to tell us the ETA. But they've got a lot of them in already, and they are working, so. And that's all I have on that.
All right, thank you. Mark your set, go, Sabrina.
Oh, Lord. I'm taking a star down by your name.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. Okay. Let me clear my throat.
Right.
Okay, the Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement between the Portage County Child Support Enforcement Agency and Portage County Domestic Relations Court Magistrate Services.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into a sub-grant agreement for Title 20 Adult Day Services with Jobs and Family Services and Coleman Professional Services, doing business as Coleman Adult Day Services.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement for Title 20 Adult Protective Case Management with Jobs and Family Services and Family and Community Services, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement for Title 20 Geriatric Mental Health Counseling and Jobs and Family Services and Family and Community Services, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into a sub-grant agreement for Title 20 Senior Recreation Services with Jobs and Family Services and Family and Community Services, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement for Title 20 Home-Based Chore Services with Jobs and Family Services and Vantage Aging.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment number 4 for prevention, retention, and contingency utility assistance services with Jobs and Family Services and Community Action Council of Portage County.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement number 4 for prevention, retention, and contingency legal services with Jobs and Family Services and Community Legal Aid Services, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment number 3 for prevention, retention, and contingency home repair services with Jobs and Family Services and Community Action Council of Portage County.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into amendment number 1 for prevention, retention, and contingency family support services with Jobs and Family Services and Catholic Charities.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into amendment number 2 for prevention, retention, and contingency domestic violence services entitled Safe Futures with Jobs and Family Services and Family and Community Services, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Hey,
Yes.
I just read what's in front of me.
Little typo.
Surveys.
Keep going.
Just give me a minute to set the stage.
Do you want a drink of water?
You can take
No,
over.
I'm happy to see that you're doing this.
We're a little halfway done.
Okay.
I saw that.
Yeah, can you get it rolling?
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment number 2 for prevention, retention, and contingency housing assistance services with Jobs and Family Services and Family and Community, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment number 2 for prevention, retention, and contingency information and referral services with Jobs and Family Services and the United Way of Portage County.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yep.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
And I'll be slowing down my progress over
That's what I'm doing.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an amendment number 2 for parenting and domestic violence services through the REACH program, Recovery, Empowerment, and Action Creating Hope, REACH, with Jobs and Family Services and Family Community Services, Inc.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement with Jobs and Family Services and Bless Path, Inc., doing business as Scenic View Transportation to provide supplemental transportation services.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Okay, the Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into an agreement with Jobs and Family Services in Hopetown, doing business as Hope on Wheels to provide supplemental transportation services.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners approves the specifications and set date for the Village of Manaway 10600 Block Sidewalk Improvement Project, Manaway, Ohio.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Board of Commissioners accepts and awards the bid for the Portage County Marks Radio Towers for the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Portage County Emergency Management Agency.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners agrees to reject bids for the Portage County Annex Renovation Project.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners amends resolution number 21-0568 adopted August 5th, 2021, approving and executing the supply agreement regarding energy purchasing program of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio Service Corp.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes. Thank you, Shannon. It's good to see you.
I'll be right back.
Thank you,
Not so
Shannon.
much of you, Shannon.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Shannon.
Now get out.
I'm actually staying. I'm gonna stay.
Morning,
All
Ryan.
right.
You're up, sir.
There he is.
Yeah, you're front and center, sir.
Thank you.
Oh.
Good morning.
Yo.
You.
Did you sneak in my office and look at my wall yet?
I have not.
Oh, buddy.
No.
Go ahead.
I don't willingly sneak into your
Oh,
office
go ahead.
routinely.
Oh, the camera picks you up.
It's not my normal activity.
Yeah, the camera picks you up. No big deal.
Okay. Waiting on Michelle to come back.
And we're talking about hazardous materials response team replacement vehicle. Woo-hoo.
Would you like me to start?
Does it come with a trailer?
Yeah, it's already coming with it. So, over the last couple months, we've been working with an oversight chiefs committee of the Portage County Fire Chiefs to look at the hazmat rig. Just to give you a little background information, the hazmat team was founded in 1996. At that time, it was at 19 cents per capita, which has since been moved up to 21 cents, I think, in 2013. And that's primarily the way they were funded. They bring in roughly $33,000 annually with a budget of expenses around $15,000. So we have a carryover cash balance right now of $262,000 in that fund. That fund was established to replace the main hazmat rig, which is a 1994 international tractor with trailer. Some of the issues that we're starting to have with that rig, even though it's low mileage, is it's drastically underpowered to pull the amount of weight that's in the asset. We also have another vehicle called a monitoring trailer, and it's starting to have some routine maintenance issues, as well as just a general oil leak and some things that they say just comes with an old truck, right? It's just an older truck. Finding parts for it's becoming a challenge. Some of the issues while we've been meeting over the last couple months was to replace that rig. And as you know, we're trying to purchase a large vehicle right now, especially in the public safety realm or any realm, is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Looking at new, we've seen everything from $500,000 to $1 million in financing. It doesn't seem to be an option with what we're looking to do. Buying used is also a challenge. because it would have to go out for procurement and finding a rig that meets your exact needs. And the used market is so hot in public safety that those rigs aren't staying on the market very long. As well as to remove the procurement needs, they would have to be on state bid process. Over the last couple months, we've searched rigs, we've seen everything. 2012 Hackney for $329,000, a 2005 E1 Typhoon, $249,000, 2004 SVI Spartan, $295,000. They had 36,000, 5,000, and 14,000 miles respectively. So we're kind of balancing low mileage, old years, high mileage, new years, and trying to find that right balance. What comes back is nothing really is affordable. So what I wanted to do is at least come in and approach you and see what the appetite may be for maybe down the road, that if we do come across the vehicle, and what we don't want to do, well, at least on behalf of the fire chiefs, they don't want to expend their entire fund and then not be able to catch up budget. So they don't want to go into their entire account, but seeing maybe if the commissioners would meet them a third of the way or half the way, possibly a third of the way, to purchase a vehicle. So for example, the 2004, which I think meets the team's need operationally, is right around $295,000. Just spitballing, if the team was to spend $225,000, would the commissioners find the remaining funding to help purchase that vehicle and replace the 1994? We did come across a vehicle recently, as of last week, that was originally around $150,000 that met the needs, not as much as that 2004, which I think fits the best, but we could make do with the process. It was a 2005, and it was sold immediately, and it's already in Nevada. But it was sold to another company that bought it and is on state bid process, but is asking $40,000 more than what we were looking to purchase it with. So it's right around $189,000. So it's within the budget, but it's already in Nevada and possibly earmarked. So I just want to share with the environment that we're in. It's very difficult to find a truck that meets absolutely every single need, with decent miles, a decent year, and state bid, so the procurement rules don't have to follow.
Yeah, I personally would be willing to look at something like that, Ryan, but to make a decision without knowing what we're doing, I wouldn't be. So once you get something together that meets your needs, I'm willing to look at it.
Well, let's talk money, because that's where we really have to look at. Have you, Jackie, had a chance to review to see where, if additional funds were needed for this?
So if the board was willing to contribute a portion to this, I think if we were to use general funds, we would probably have to wait probably toward the end of the year to see where we land. But we were just talking about the sales and use tax fund. I'm not sure, after the discussion we had this morning, if this is an allowable use. But so when I was reading the resolution, I thought maybe it would be, because it was talking about public health and safety. But after the discussion this morning,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think people would, well, you know who our secretary at the time was for that was Barb Tittle. So, and she likes to frequent here, and she would probably have something to say about that, but anyways, is there any other funds?
Not that I could see, but if we did have, like I said, if toward the end of the year, if we would see that, like we've put off supplemental, budget requests till the last quarter of the year. So if we look at the end of the year and we have,
well, we still have like what, 10 million of the ARPA money that can replace like payroll and stuff like that we could then move other funds. Is that correct?
That could be used for.
You can supplant them. I mean, because that's a use. I don't know if that's an option. Cause we have like 10 million of that set aside.
I think as long as you can prove that it's for public use, we could use those funds.
Yeah, I wasn't really working at the money issue until we really knew what we were looking at.
Sure.
Well,
the 2004.
as you're hearing,
the 2004 was the best example. I think
it's
that
slim.
was operationally, and that was $295,000.
Yeah, but
so
we're still looking at a 20-year-old vehicle.
Yeah,
correct, and that's the environment we're in.
That's my concern, and you're saying the new ones are like $500,000.
We spoke to a company about leasing as well, and it was quite expensive.
Yeah.
And I can get a little more detailed figures on that.
That's why I always refer to the budget, because you can do all this work, but if it's not there,
right, and
it's
that
not
2004
there, and
is
you have
already
to stay
sold.
within your 262.
So it's already gone since we were looking at that vehicle.
Yeah,
it's already marked. So that's the environment we're in.
That's where I'm a little different, because I prepare for that. I get it.
So it's something, once you do make a decision, you have to move fast on. I know our team members are thinking about flying out and looking at these trucks, taking maintenance guys with them, and I just don't know if we have that.
And why we should give you, you know, what we're willing to do or what we can contribute to,
So-
so you know.
So if it's 300,000, we're talking, asking us approximately 100,000.
Correct, correct.
You just can't take your new building and be happy?
No.
Wow, really, Ryan?
No, never, never.
We take the
happened.
back door
What
off
have
the
you done
paper.
for me lately?
What the heck,
Nothing. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
We gotta have another talk.
Sarcasm.
All right.
Sarcasm on the
Your
public
Martin's
meeting.
Towers and that
Yeah, no,
$4.6 million
Exactly.
building
we
isn't
were just-
enough?
Hey, Ryan, get out.
We've had internal conversations, and we're just at a pass. We don't know. We're fighting
Right.
the age. We're fighting the mileage. We're fighting new. We're just. It's
Well,
a-
that's
it's a
what
rough
I'm hearing you
environment.
say, the chances of us getting something is
Right.
slim to none.
How many times have we used that vehicle in the last 2 years?
Like quite a bit. Quite a bit. It goes out, and we're also
Yeah.
consolidating 2 vehicles into one. So we're taking 2 assets and moving into one. So we would sell off. That's what's also being lost is selling the current asset as well as the other one, and what revenue might come from that.
Is there
So-
any need for it out there, do you think,
For hazmat,
for that?
for
Or old truck? But when you wanna get rid of
I
it?
mean, looking at the used market, I think anybody's willing to take what they can. Can't
Is there any
definitively say
grant
so.
funds available with all the money? I mean, every other day, I get stuff from DeWine's office, they're beefing up or spending, you know, having money set aside for different
The
safety.
We could research state
Sure.
grant funds.
The
Yeah.
typical grant we use is state homeland security grant, which would be eligible. This would be an eligible expense. The problem, it would have to be new. It had to have exact specifications, and the one award can't be more than $225,000. So they put those restrictions on it.
So if you have the restrictions, would we be able to use county money for that restriction, including that, or would you have to, hey, this is it, can't spend anymore?
Well, if you
Well,
got that,
it's-
and then you have 262, and,
We're talking a $500,000 to $1 million asset. So where do we find the difference?
yeah.
So it's a lot more than the used.
Well, Sabrina was so close to that money yesterday, and she didn't take any.
Oh no.
She didn't bring nothing back.
Yeah.
Hey, you said, it was right
It's
there.
a 4-county board.
Hey.
Sure only has one vote.
Just yell squirrel and take it.
Yeah.
Believe me, I did enough yesterday.
So of course, we're not looking for an answer today. I just wanted to put it on your radar that this is what we're dealing with. We have been talking internally for months now on this and what we're gonna do. We continue to review assets. It was a positive that recent asset got sold to a company that's on state bid. So that's a positive. And if we can move forward with that, then there won't be any request. But that asset's already into Nevada, and I'm not sure what the status is of it. So if that's the case, then more than likely we'll just move forward with that. But that just came out last week before I even scheduled to come here to this meeting. So,
Okay.
but yep. And the other thing would be exec session.
Go for it.
All right, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22G6, the Board of Commissioners moves into executive session to discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for a public office. If disclosure of the matters discussed could reasonably be expected to jeopardize the security of the public office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mikey?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes. Paul, we asked you to take your leave. out of executive session.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Tony,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
No action.
no action.
Jackson.
I want her to ask the question.
Thank you.
Jackson.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye, Ryan, thank
I'm
you.
moving this along. Now we gotta get back to
Okay,
the
yep.
executive.
Alright, don't go anyplace, we're gonna, do you need more help going out now?
No, I think we're good.
You're good now? Okay,
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Bye, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Stay close. Okay, I'll make a motion in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1. The Board of Commissioners moves into executive session in consideration to consider the employment of a public employee.
Second.
Roll call?
Sabrina? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry, Adam.
That's okay, I just wanna, yeah.
It shouldn't be too long.
We're live.
All right,
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes,
Any action?
no action. I'm getting the hang of it. Are there any public comments at this time?
Adam, did you wanna
Public comment?
introduce yourself, or since you're sitting here?
I can.
Yes, you-
Would
please,
you
sir.
like me to approach or?
Yes,
Yeah, come
please,
on
come
up.
on. Shannon,
Shannon?
you're out of here.
I'm out of
Wait,
here.
No,
oh.
for a
No,
minute.
she needs to
Yeah,
go
we
back
just
into the
finished.
audience,
Oh.
because we've got public comment.
Back row.
Oh, okay. Oh, we do have a public comment. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we didn't.
Hey, Adam.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Adam Gumpf, State Treasurer's Office. Live and reside, lifelong resident of Portage County, Ohio, and it's in the area and just wanted to drop by and say hello to all of you this
Good
morning.
seeing you.
Appreciate
Good
you.
to see
So,
That's it.
so what's going on in the treasurer's world? Anything that impacts us?
You know, the treasurer's world has been pretty slow this summer. It's been a lot of state fairs, county fairs, that sort of thing, and the programs are rolling right along. The state budget was just passed earlier this summer, and had a couple programs get through in that. There'll be more news out on those soon, and something that hopefully some Portage County Ohioans can take advantage of in the upcoming future and years. So, yeah.
Did you bring croissants or
Donuts?
donuts, right?
I'll have to remember that for next time,
Adam,
Commissioner.
seriously?
I didn't think about it. I will. Next time I'll bring them by.
See, I thought
Put him
we
back
had
out in the
this.
hallway.
Yeah,
She's a
I
raspberry.
like your idea. There you go.
This is wrong, but okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Adam. Good to see you.
Come back
Thanks for stopping.
anytime.
Tell the
Thank
treasurer
you.
we said hello.
Will do, absolutely.
Can we take a 2-minute recess?
Hey, we're gonna take a recess till 11:10, about 3 minutes, and we'll be back in session. come out of it, no,
Okay.
recess?
All right, I will make a motion in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1. The Board of Commissioners moves into executive session to consider the employment of a public employee.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Executive session?
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes. No
Any
action. No action.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the August 29th, 2023 amended certificate of estimated resources for the year beginning January 1st, 2023 as submitted by the Portage County Budget Commission.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners approve the August 2023 adjustments to the Portage County Water, Portage County Sewer, and street sewer billing accounts as reported on the adjustment report submitted and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners authorize Commissioner Anthony Badalamenti to sign a request for release of funds and certifications for the 2022 Target of Opportunity Grant Manaway Village Facade Improvement Project and is being funded out of the 2022 CDBG allocation grant as presented by the Portage County Regional Planning Commission.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners signs the August 31st, 2023 correspondence to Kate Church and Anthony Badalamenti to submit online Ohio Public Works Commission disbursement request number 7 on behalf of the Portage County Engineer to consultant Marucci and Gaffney Excavating Company in the amount of $60,999.80 for the Fund 4258 Newton Falls Bridge replacement. 50% of said request was paid with local funds.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes. Thank you. You're up, sir.
Oh, no.
What's-
He's
Oh, your
my
meeting. Oh, you're having another
Yes.
meeting. Oh, we're being thrown out.
There's nothing else to come before
Pretty
the
much.
board, is there?
Nothing else coming forward, board? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Tony,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.